All right, all right. I guess we're here. You know what I forgot to do? I forgot to open the script again. So welcome back.
It's always
And
one thing. It's always
always
one thing
one
that,
thing,
yeah.
like why am I on the wrong slide? For example. But we're gonna bring this up here. Welcome back, everybody, to the Created Economy. This is our news show, Fridays, the Creative Briefs. Where we do feature and bring to you sort of our deep dives and analysis on sort of the latest news going on in the creator economy. So we look forward to having you here with us today. We do go live. Let me just arrange some things here. It is November 12th, by the way. This is episode 15 of this show. We have 3 shows, though, in case you've missed it. We do office hours on Tuesday. We do have our deep dive and interview series on Wednesdays, the creator economy. And we also have Creative Briefs, this show, on Friday morning. So by all means, feel free to tune in. If you want to get updates on any of these things, by all means, we do recommend that you give us a follow. We are Creative Economy almost everywhere: YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, and Flipboard. We share links and our thoughts along the way. So great opportunity for you to sort of figure out and find out what's going to be happening potentially here before then.
And speaking of Twitter Spaces, why don't you join
I'm
Twitter
not
Spaces?
on Twitter Spaces. Yes.
Yeah. So your entire intro was not heard by anybody on Twitter Spaces.
Well, screw those guys. I have other things to do, Ken.
Yeah, like remember your script. Remember,
sharing links and other things. So whatever.
If only we had a intern or a production assistant.
If only we had it. Wait a minute. We have Peter sitting here the whole time. Why don't we have him doing some of these things?
He's eating. He's eating. He's enjoying life. He's making sure things work well. Making sure the hamsters are turning.
All right. I think you should have my audio now.
Yep.
All right, cool. So by all means, definitely follow us over there. We are doing our AMA drop. It is the official coin of the Creative Economy Show. We will be opening up new benefits and perks for having that coin. So by all means, start acquiring them. We are giving you free money. All you have to do is head over there and pick up some free coins for sure. We do also have a Slack community. It's a great place. Lots of other builders, some creators, even a couple investors. So it's a nice chance to sort of stay connected with other folks in the space. Actually, speaking of which, this week we did our first co-working session on, what day was that? Wednesday
morning. Right before,
I think it was Wednesday morning before the show. Yeah. But we're going to be doing that a little bit more, hopefully over the next several weeks. But the idea is just to be able to be in a similar room, listen to some really bad European music, and, be around other people, even though we are all probably working remotely. So by all means, hit up the Slack, because we'll share links in there first and foremost for everybody. And with that, Ken, I think let's go back to let's jump into the news.
Sounds good. All right. So we have, very much like previous weeks, a bunch of news to go through related to the creator economy. This one comes with kind of reports that's saying that Instagram is planning on launching a subscription service for creators very soon. Somebody did some digging in the App Store. Actually, it was 2 third-party app monitoring services, Sensor Tower and Apptopia. They found some code in the App Store description, or some code or something in the App Store description that suggested that what they have, I think what they're calling it Instagram subscriptions, as super creative. And basically what that means is, if it comes to fruition, users can pay their favorite creators. Basically, I think it was almost like what you have with Twitch, where you can pay, between a 99 cents to $4.99. You just pay to promote or to thank them for their post. Let's see what they're saying here specifically.
There are more tiers for sure, I believe.
Yeah. So you can purchase badges or subscriptions, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's like very similar to virtual items and those type of things. Is this surprising? Probably not. Sure, you might as well do it. And of course, if you're going to be doing, if Instagram wants creators to do more, go live more, if they want to do more reels or anything like that, like obviously having these type of virtual items would be good to bolster engagement while also supporting creators on Instagram. And of course, Instagram and its parent company, Facebook, or now formerly known as Facebook, now Meta, wants to entice creators, especially young creators, to move away from TikTok and YouTube and come over to Facebook, because they're having a problem with losing users and losing creators. So this could be a nice little incentive, enticement, if you will. But Greg, I mean, would you pay like 99 cents to between $1 and $5 for your favorite creator on Instagram as opposed to on YouTube or on Twitch?
Personally, I wouldn't, because not that there's nothing wrong with Instagrammers per se, but I feel like the value prop of like just photos like just feels kind of low, right? Like I feel like in YouTube or Twitch, like the creators putting more into it. They're spending more time. They're being more engaged. And by the way, I know there's a tremendous amount of work goes into producing and creating these photos, but for Instagram as well. I personally just don't have anyone in the folks that I follow that I would subscribe to per se. That's me though, right? I don't know that that's true for everybody, but I do think it's easier mentally, like a Substack, like these longer form things or sort of these more involved formats do feel like they offer more justification, I guess, in parting ways with some money, right? Now, I think like the Patreon kind of version of this though, like just purely like out of a support thing, like that doesn't seem unreasonable to me, right? Like I do think there are potentially people, not necessarily folks that I'm currently following per se, but there are people like I think that you believe in what they're working on, their cause, or something else that's behind them. You want to see them be successful, and I could see someone parting ways with, with some patronage style payments, right? Subscribing to support them, but I like just from a content point of view, pure alone, like I don't know, it feels a little bit less surface area to hang on to.
It almost seems like Instagram, as we talk about these iterations, every week we talk about, Instagram is launching this or could be launching this or so on and so forth. And it's not surprising. I think what it boils down to is everyone is looking at what Twitch has done, and they're just copying that model, right? So you look at, you talk about these virtual items, these badges, these subscriptions. These are things that Twitch has. So over time, when you look at the holistic picture, it's basically like, okay, Facebook's like, all right, Twitch, copy that model, paste.
So I think that's a fair point, Ken, and I think
and there's nothing wrong with it. I mean, it's logical.
No, for sure. I guess what I would say is, my thought though is that where they are copying to, like, even if we look at where the monetization tended to happen, it was in the live streams, and I do believe, like I was saying, kind of to the point I was making before. It was when I knew you were putting in something extra where there's like more time, right? So like earning stars on Instagram or Facebook or, or gems and TikTok. It's not just and by the way, TikToks I think are way harder to make than like Instagrams are, right? Like TikToks seem like the most baffling thing to me, right? But you know what I mean? Like, so I think like to the extent that they are copying or borrowing these capabilities, it's been happening in the live environment. And I do think that the live environment does provide more surface area to like psychologically, rationally justify sort of a spend than, and I'm not saying that because I'm building a live stream platform, but I am saying that inside of the ecosystem of these tools, right? Like that's where a lot of that value creation has happened, is around the live content, because there is this extra level of sort of engagement or connection, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think you're right. And I think what's coupled with all of that, right? Because I think Instagram versus Twitch is, it's very much the live streaming aspect, but what Instagram offers as a complement for creators is more of a static platform, that being the traditional Instagram photos and videos, right? I mean, you can post.
Now, does it surprise us that Adam Mosseri is saying we're going to be video, right? Like, right? Like, so you can see these pieces sort of come into play, right? As you think about it, because are there, like, other than Instagram, is there something that is photo sharing anymore?
Flickr.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah. I'm calling it out. Flickr.
I mean, I've heard the words Flickr. Like, tell me the last time you heard it in any conversation of relevance, right?
Like all of like 5 seconds ago.
That would definitely not be a conversation of relevance. But you know what I'm saying? Like they are the last of the photo sort of apps. I guess Snap is, maybe, right? But
yeah.
But I don't even have Snapchat installed on my phone, right? Like, so, you know, I don't know, like there are, like, but the photo format itself does seem to be sort of depleting, right? Sort of, I wouldn't say it's that there's something wrong with it. I just feel like the center of gravity is moving a bit away from it towards, you know, certainly towards video, and increasingly, I believe, you know, towards more live interactive things, right? Not necessarily live stuff, but just more interactive versions of things, like metaverses and, you know, AR experiences, et cetera. But all these things are the difference is they're interactive. They're not like just sit there, consume, and have no play in the game, right?
Yeah, but I think the last thing I'll say about it is, like, you're right. And certainly it's not you can't just be oh, we're just a photo sharing app or photo social network, because like it's very vintage, right? It's like, oh, you go into like an antique shop and, hey, we're a photo sharing app. Like, it could have its heyday, but you still need to, that can no longer be the core of your DNA. I think with Instagram, yeah, they're very similar to like with Facebook, how they shifted. Now they're no longer just they're now like social media company. They're now a metaverse company. That's what they're refocusing their whole effort. And so Instagram, you're right. Instagram is all about the live. Instagram is all about the video. But when you factor in the commerce and all the subscriptions and everything else that's beyond just like live, because, you know, you might miss this live, but then you can catch this as a video on Instagram. Or if I post a photo of like you know, like, I don't know, like of my mouse here, right? It's like, and I do a review, that could be like, maybe somebody wants to look at that and then you can buy something off it. So there's a little bit, so that I wouldn't say don't go into photos. Photos is certainly necessary. But I think there's a little bit more, you're right. I think photos has become taken a back seat, and it is now, video is now the king, or the royalty of the space here.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's like, there is very much more copying of the Twitch playbook to be.
And just to close this point, I think, by the way, I'm a firm believer in the power of live, but the reason I think that video live and then live, I think, would be that third generation kind of thing is valuable, is that because now we're asking people to pay money for it. Right. And I feel like that, to the extent that that will be successful, right, and we could argue whether or not that's true, right, people want that surface area to be like, I'm getting a lot of value out of it. It's just like why people didn't want to buy an article for, you know, 99 cents, right? Like, sure, you get, like, maybe intellectually you understand it costs time and money to make it, but like, you're like, I read it in 2 minutes. Was that $1 worth? No, like there's a little bit of math that goes on in your head, right? Like, even if it's like subliminal.
Yeah. Yeah. And you can certainly make more. There's certainly more incentive for a subscription versus something interactive like a video than you do with a static image. Unless you're like
why Twitter paid Twitter's or accounts, or what is it called?
Twitter Blue.
No, not that's when we're buying features from Twitter, not the paid.
Super follows.
Super follows, right? Like, that's also why, like, I think super follows has challenges, because it feels like a thing that you missive out, you know, like short and quick, and you were doing already, and you're likely still going to do to some extent publicly.
Yeah.
You know, I can
think,
like,
it's also flat. Tweets are flat. You know, Twitter tweets are like photos on Instagram. Yeah. I mean, they serve a purpose, but they don't have.
They're the photos of written content, right?
Yeah, but it's hard to really find something sticky to engage and be interactive and find like, oh my God,
Oh, well,
derive joy from.
I would say if you took all your tweets off and the only way to get them was through like a thing, now suddenly you change the equation a little bit, and maybe like I might be willing to buy it. You know, if I thought you were like a truly insightful person, like I got lots of leads or, you know, other interesting things, but different story. Anyway, we got a ton of articles. So,
Speaking of Twitter. Yes. So Greg, you and I kind of disagree sort of on this. So for those that are listening and watching, this week, Twitter Blue, their premium subscription service launched in the US and New Zealand. Previously it was available in Canada and Australia for those users. So now if you're in the US and in New Zealand, you can pay a $2.99, or was it like about $2.99 a month, and or $4.99. I'm sorry, $4.49 in New Zealand dollars. I don't know what that currency is exactly, but let's call it New Zealand currency. And so basically, this will allow you, the Twitter user, to do a whole bunch of things, such as be able to see news articles without seeing ads. Minus the paywall. You still have to do the paywall. You still need to. You can be able to undo your tweets. Let me just make sure I have everything correct here. There's so many here. Tools. You can organize your bookmarks, your tweet bookmarks. You can organize your Twitter threads in an easier format, so you can read them. Anybody's Twitter threads, you can that they do a tweet storm. You can read it easily. I think it's like there's a Twitter service that does something similar to that. I think it was like Unroll or something like that. You can customize your app icons and the navigation in the app. So I mean, nice little update.
Yeah, I got a purple one now.
Okay, I guess that's a good thing. You can have you will even have early access to Twitter Labs. So for all of that for $2.99, based on all of those features, I'm not exactly sure if that's something I'm willing to pay for at this particular point in time. Greg, you paid $2.99 for it. Is it everything that you hope
for? Yeah, I do think it was. So, you know, like, I guess this all boils down to like what you consider a lot or not, right? And
yeah,
to me, you know, like even yesterday, like I had a very long thread, and then like I added a few words at the beginning. Of course, I made a typo. What I really want is editing ability, right? But I didn't have that. But you know, like the undo prevention or the ability to edit has been useful. Like I bookmark a lot of things on Twitter that I find, and being able to have folders to like organize my save things, like actually has already been useful. And also, like, as an early adopter, like being able to get into some of these new capabilities faster, like it's actually kind of worth the premium to me. Like, I think like us being, you know, sort of like covering sort of a space, like I like the ability to sort of see some things first and having a little bit of access to them. So yeah, like, do I think it's for everybody? No. I have become like a much more sort of active Twitter user again after many years of not using it. So I think some of these things are there, and I think I think you're right. Like, I think it's not a lot of features. I think there will be more, right? Like of meaningful things, like over time, and it'll probably back into a bit more justification for the price. But yeah, you know, I think like, you know, like $2.99 a month or whatever it is, right? Like, you know, like that's like what this coffee cost, right? Like, so to me, you know, sure, I get, you know, like I think it's a fairly low impact sort of change, right? Like relatively speaking, like I don't know how many people will switch to it or anything like that, but I think it's a decent set of features. Now, I don't think everyone needs it, and I don't think most people care enough to want it.
Yeah, and to be clear, all these features are specific to the individual. So it's you subscribing is not going to, as a creator, it's not going to impact your fans or followers at all.
Totally,
Unless they also subscribe to
something different
Twitter Blue.
For that
unless they, and that would be through, as we talked about earlier, super follows, right, or communities or anything like that. So this Twitter Blue is specifically for the I guess this is probably more for the power Twitter users, talking about the organization. There are some features I would love for them to extract and bring out to the masses. And yes, I mean, there were times where I'm like $2.99. I mean, it's not much. I mean, you pay, that's like 4 times how much you pay for Spotify a month, right? And and how often do I use Twitter versus do I listen to Spotify? I use Twitter a hell of a lot more. But the features wise, I'm like,
you have to get the value out of it, I think.
Yeah.
Anyway, I think we have so many articles left now. We're almost way through. Let's keep going.
All right. Facebook. So this is a nice little report from the information that says inside Facebook's struggle to attract creators and their young fans. This data, this research comes from this report comes from documents released from the whistleblower, Frances Hogan, that basically is pretty eye-opening as it relates to Facebook's struggle. So I'm just going to boil it down to 3 key takeaways according to the information. Facebook employees saw that their app, the Facebook app, wasn't as attractive to creators because it's the youth didn't think, hey, Facebook is a hip place anymore. It's like, hello, fellow kids, that meme. And people, there's that certain, that Gen Z audience are like, I'm not really sure about Facebook anymore. I think, we'll go on to TikTok, or we'll go on to, actually, it is just TikTok right now for Gen Z, I'd imagine. So the company is planning on spending more on its Facebook Watch program to attract Gen Z through original content, those type of things. And then internal research found that creators had a quote lack a reason to be on Facebook. So let's put it this way. So is this surprising? No, we know from the whistleblower documents, the Facebook papers, that Facebook is hemorrhaging the youth audience, the youth users. I think years ago, Mark Zuckerberg on an earnings call said that Facebook was having problems keeping the teens on their platform, and this is only exacerbating those findings. But Facebook's making a hard effort in terms of attracting them, and basically, I think giving agency to managers, to creators, to creator groups to strike deals with creators to create original content. So I don't know. I mean, they have a long road ahead of them to entice people. I mean, Greg, would you use it? Would you be on Facebook at this point?
I don't think. I mean, for us, obviously, we're in the Facebook generation, right? So, I think every one of our friends always threatens to quit and then doesn't quit, right? So, I do think it's probably for other generations, like where you go visit the olds, right?
Yeah.
So, I don't know if you can make it cool. And by the way, this is why they went to Meta, right? It's sort of bookending, sort of like that. They're trying to get ahead of that next generation, say, all right, well, where are they going to be next? And, now we don't have to associate the name Facebook with this thing anymore. We can try to be something else. So I don't know. We'll see. Look, all of the platforms are ultimately going to have trouble maintaining audience and creators over time, because creators are getting smarter. Audiences are saying like, hey, there's ways that I can spend if my energy, attention, and money can go to support the people I prefer, as opposed to these big companies, more people are opting for that, right? Mm-hmm. We're in the early parts of that, but the reality is that folks want to figure out how to help the people that they like more so than they want to help big companies, right? And especially as all these other nefarious things sort of are happening behind the scenes and whatnot. I think it just increases the difficulties that we're going to see.
Yeah, one interesting quote that this presentation that the information cites, there's a quote from a 18-year-old named Aaliyah. I'd imagine that's how you pronounce her name. Apologies if I mispronounce that. FB, Facebook, has a feature for literally everything, but yet it doesn't really feel like it is for anything. I honestly don't know what it's for anymore. And that's fair, right? I mean, it's like Facebook has become this conglomerate for everything that we do: shopping,
But I
communication.
guess the question is she talking about Facebook, or like Facebook everything, like Meta, right? Like, because
Oh,
I mean, like,
this was before the new. Oh, you're right. Is it
okay,
talking about the Facebook app, or is she
well,
talking about Facebook,
yeah, but does
the
that include
company?
Instagram or like?
Yeah,
I agree. Facebook itself does have a lot of things, but it does. It is pretty clear to me why you use Facebook if you're a Facebook user, right?
yeah,
Like, it's staying in touch with your friends, right? Like, to the extent that your friends are there, right? And if they're not there, I mean, it's an interesting point of view, and I guess I get it from the lens of like I have all these single purpose apps that just do one thing, right, really well. So that contrast is stark. I don't, but that's sort of like blaming Word for not being Notion, right?
yeah,
Like Word evolved over like 30 years to be to the state it's in, and it's an indispensable tool to massive amounts of people. But it's also just not Notion, because Notion came around a way later and chose to reinvent and be focused in a different thing, right?
yeah. I on my end, and I think that this person is talking more about the holistic company as
Hmm.
opposed to just the product itself. But I mean, look, I think we know based on
That's harder to
uh,
follow though, right? Because like
yeah,
Instagram has a purpose, right? Like
yeah.
unto itself, right? And WhatsApp has a purpose unto itself, right?
But are they necessarily where the Gen Z and younger audience are? I don't even know what's after Gen Z, but
I don't know,
I mean,
but WhatsApp is imminently popular, like around the
yeah,
world, right? Like, so yeah, I mean, I guess it's not worth overreading into it. I mean, I understand the feedback or that criticism, certainly,
mhm,
but like I said, it's a little revisionist, like to blame Facebook for being Facebook, like at
yeah,
this point in time, right?
absolutely.
Like,
No, you're right. But I think anything to take away from that, Facebook, like the Facebook papers are, there's a lot of proof, evidence, or revelations that show that Facebook has a youth problem, and I don't think
yeah,
that's surprising
that
everybody.
goes without saying. Yeah,
Yeah,
that absolutely goes without saying. Yeah.
yeah. Speaking of
Mhm.
youth problems, YouTube is apparently paying TikTok stars and other creators as much, as, I mean, obviously incentivizing. That's great, but they're offering as much as $50,000 to post shorts. So, Greg, I think we need to, kind
I
of.
don't know how we're gonna get big on TikTok though.
Yeah, that's true. Hey, I don't know. We very well could. Like, we could just totally do the show on TikTok and just blow it up, right? And start signing up for their whatever TikTok program they are, and then kind of just jump back onto YouTube. Um, so here's where it goes. Like, I think this is very similar to what Facebook and Instagram are trying to do. They're trying to woo creators away from other platforms. It's a land grab. That's what it is. But YouTube's kind of going a little bit one step further and saying like, hey, we're not doing this is in addition to the $100 million shorts fund that YouTube set up, I think this summer, right? So this is so they're offering 3 additional opportunities. Uh, Here you go. So in one program, creators were asked to post 100 shorts over a period of 6 months and offered $50,000, according to reports. YouTube was open to negotiating on the payment. Another shorts program had creators posting 80 shorts, or 30 of which had to be created natively inside the shorts tool, for which they were offered $50,000. A third program called Creator Collective, around 100 YouTube creators were asked to post a number of shorts over 6 months with the tag #YouTube partner. Creators were paid between $5,000 and $20,000 for participating. So a lot of these platforms are shelling out money. Money is the name of the game in order to get people to do this. I wonder though, is money going to be enough to make that sustainable? Right? I mean, is it enough for people to say, I'm getting paid $50,000 to create shorts for this period of time, but after that, after the money dries up, are you going to stay with shorts, or are you going to go back to TikTok, or are you going to go back to Snap, or are you going to go back to whatever platform you were on before? But I mean, I think the thing to take away from all of this, in my opinion, is that these big platforms, YouTube, Facebook, are not, and Facebook are not shy to take out their big fat wallets and throw money at the problems in order to try and quash
It's
TikTok.
land grab. They don't have a
Yeah.
choice, right?
Yeah.
Um,
TikTok's be able
and
to
again,
woo people natively, organically. But YouTube and Facebook are doing it artificially, which is going to win.
well, I wouldn't. Yes, I mean, look, there's something artificial, I guess, about it because they're the ones copying the format, right? Mm-hmm. But you could also argue that Snap had stories first, but Instagram killed it with stories, right? Mm-hmm. So is TikTok a permanent institution and likely winner here? Probably for a while, right? I think I think the thing that people get missed about TikTok is actually that it's that there's just like the feed is it's a very different experience, right? Than like going to YouTube and then having to pick what you want to see or something, right? Mm-hmm. And it's sort of more lean back sort of thing going on there, right? So I do think there's something interesting here, but look, as I said, these shows still need, these platforms still need to keep and hook creators. There was a study, where is it? I have it open here. It said that, so this was the one that Mighty Networks did actually, and they said that they sort of ranked like the revenue sources from different places, percent of creators who leverage different streams. 61% do revenue share of advertising, right? Now, guess what? That 61% of revenue share of advertising is like probably all from YouTube, right? Because not most people don't actually offer revenue share and advertising, right? But number two was paid subscriptions at 38%. Tips from fans was 36%. So the tips from fans and the paid subscriptions, that's sort of like YouTube memberships, maybe Patreon, gems. But creator funds was number 4 on that list with 27%. So from a strategy point of view, significant chunks of creators, regardless of the platform that is offering the fund, right, that is like a third of creators practically are making their money from these programs.
So would it be, instead of maybe the suggestion for these big platforms is, instead of just throwing out money, I mean, while money is great and certainly they have a lot of it, so they can certainly, that can supplement it, that shouldn't be the big stick. What they should be focusing on are more like the creator services, like all the stuff that you're talking about. According to that Mighty Network report, they should be focusing on using that as the carrot to dangle in front of creators, to say, hey, we offer better creator services than our competitors, like, whatever.
Well, by the way, YouTube has way better. We talked about that a few weeks ago, right? Like that there was like 1,000 people actually working to support creators, right? At YouTube. That's unmatched by anyone else in the space, right? So, I think it's very sensible for YouTube to try to draw people in who are good at creating that style of content, where they're trying to move and grow the presence of that style of content on their platform. But once they get you to YouTube has a better offering in a lot of ways for most creators, right? Like they pay more. There's a proper revenue sharing that you could participate in. There's memberships, there's subscriptions. There's better support, right? So I think like YouTube is probably the smart one here, and everyone else should still be trying to figure out how to catch up to YouTube, realistically speaking, not really the other way around.
Yeah. Cool. All right.
When it comes to supporting creators, at least.
So, Greg, what is Pico?
Pico is a CRM platform for creators, largely on the audience side. So, kind of like a Spore, I believe, I think they're much more focused on the CRM parts than Spore. Spore has more of an ecosystem around it. But Pico is an interesting tool, they're building like a CRM to sort of help you manage your audience, track them over time, sort of think like Patreon, but like kind of on steroids and not requiring payment. So, just last week, 2 weeks ago, we talked about Bitly launching their own link in bio tool. I think, is this an irrational decision from Pico's point of view? Like, at least from my point of view, I don't think so. I mean, again, it's the friction thing. Like, if you are using Pico to build CRM and you are trying to recruit people, then you would ideally rather have the people that you recruit from your link in bio actually go into your CRM and become part of that ecosystem, and understanding that you're building over time, right? So now, would people switch to this because of their link in bio? I highly doubt that, right? Actually, in the show notes that we posted, what I noted was that, hey, here's my thought. My thought is that if people really creators grow to believe in the power of CRM, then the earliest adopters will probably find value in the Pico version. However, if that is also true that creators are finding value in CRM, then all of the other link in bios will also have these capabilities, right? So, so I don't know that this is like some kind of moat that they're creating here, but I do think it's a useful feature relative to the ecosystem of creators who are leveraging something like Pico for their CRM.
So Pico launched first as a CRM, correct?
Pico is a CRM platform, absolutely.
Right.
Yes.
So it's kind of interesting, right? You look at Linktree, Koji. Well, actually, not really Koji, but anything that's primarily like Linktree, which is they're fundamentally started off as a link in bio, and then they expanded to other things. And then you get like Koji, which kind of was all these different apps, like this app store marketplace for the creator economy, and then they kind of added in a separate, like a link in bio type of opportunity. With Pico, it is a CRM, like a Salesforce, and then they added that as a additional added link in bio as an additional feature. And the same, and Bitly was hardcore. Their DNA was all about link sharing, and then they added then they're launching this link in bio type of feature. So it's kind of fascinating to look at all these players, and we've talked about, okay, everyone's doing link in bio. It's a low hanging fruit type of thing, but it's interesting to see where they're coming at. Like at which point are they integrating that? And it's either as the foundation of everything, or it's more like either an afterthought or, oh, it's an adjacency, right? And I mean, all these tools do the same thing. Link in bio. I mean, it's pretty self-explanatory, but it's where it comes into the product life cycle that is worth looking into, right? I mean, with Pico,
it's a feature. I don't think it's, it's a, this is a non-news item, right?
I'm just saying it's like kind of interesting to and look, maybe I'm just blowing it all out of proportion here, right? I think it's like, because I think from somebody that's never built anything, it's kind of fascinating to see at which point do they put that in there, right? I mean, it's like, when is Zealous going to do it in Lincoln Bio
tool like in a day? Like it is just like not basically like Lincoln Bio tool is like, like the new to-do list app, right? Like for developers, right? So they're not fundamentally hard to make. Now there obviously is tons of nuance, and there's lots of stuff you can do to improve them and make them better, and obviously differentiate. Like I said, I think it's fine. I don't have any problem that they're doing it. Like, I don't think this is like a massive lead gen opportunity for like new customers for Pico per se, because the bigger point, the one you were making earlier though, I think though, is just more that Linktree started as links because that's the level of commitment that like creators are willing to make. Pico was able to do CRM now because there are finally creators who recognize and see themselves as businesses that want to operate in that manner, right? Like they view themselves as entrepreneurs, and that generation, while growing, is still very, very small, right? And I think like we need to get to the point that we have more and more people understanding the power and importance of that.
Yeah. All right. Switching gears to social audio, or ephemeral audio, if we call it now. Clubhouse is now letting hosts record conversations for later.
So non-ephemeral audio.
Well, yeah, non-ephemeral. Now it's just becoming live audio, right? It's called Clubhouse Replays. It's available on iOS and Android, and it does as it's.
I haven't tried it. Have you seen it? I haven't even been in the Clubhouse. I have a Clubhouse later today, actually tonight, so maybe I'll.
Yeah, you can try and let us know. But as you can expect with replays, anybody can record the audio chat, save it to the club, or save it to that particular club or a profile. It can be downloaded and shared externally, blah, blah, blah. It's everything you hoped and I guess maybe more. It has that nice little Netflix type of feature where you can listen to audio like at multiple speeds. So you can do it at 1.5 or 2x speed. So it's like if somebody's long-winded, like for example me, you can just easily have me talk really rapidly. What's kind of fascinating? It's almost like a Discord. I'm sorry, not a Discord. What is that audio? Starts with a D. We use it a lot. Descript. Yes. You can. Listeners can take on a recorded conversation, can skip to the next speaker, which is kind of interesting. Pause or scrub, or even make their own 30-second clips. So, nice little update that's coming out to Clubhouse or is available at the Clubhouse. So make sure you update your iOS and your Android app.
Well, yeah, we'll see if this changes trajectory in any useful way.
No, but it matches with what Twitter Spaces has. Like Twitter, well, actually, I don't. Not
and
even
Spotify
sure.
doesn't. No, Twitter does. Twitter doesn't have recording, but Green Room.
Yes,
Green Room has recording.
Yeah. Again, this is very much like a race to the bottom. These are obviously features. I mean, next week, I guarantee you, I bet you we'll probably have Twitter Spaces now. It does. Very similar to what
I think they've already said it was going to do recording anyway. Like that, I don't think that's a secret.
You have to do it. You kind of have to do it, right? And then do all sorts of things. Anyways, sticking on the audio side of things, podcasting app Callin announced that it's raised $12 million in a Series A round of funding. Again, very similar to Pico. It's not a super huge, but what's noteworthy is what Callin is basically very similar to what we talked about with our friend John Allen from Lava. It's a one-stop shop for all your podcast production needs, recording, editing, transcription, and distribution with live audience participation. And it's co-founded by David Sachs, who Greg and I know. He's the former CEO of Yammer and Zenefits, and also now a VC at Craft Ventures. So nice little. There's a lot of money for podcasting apps that's being thrown out there. Not sure who a winner is going to be, but when it comes to, as we talked with John, was it Wednesday? No, sorry, a week ago. There's a lot of opportunities to make traditional podcasting social. So, nice little insights, app update there. But
well, again, I think the thing that's interesting to me here is just that it's proving that interactivity sort of has a lot of value, right?
Yeah. All right, we're running short on time here. Oh my God, so many. Why don't we talk about Discord? So apparently Discord was in the news this week, Greg.
Yeah, Discord. Look, by the way, this is like a whole thing manufactured literally by the CEO. But he shared a picture of like basically some kind of like Ethereum looking integration into Discord. And then he took a beating in the face because his community of users was like, don't want to see it happen. From what I had seen, there was a lot. There was two things I think that were two trend lines here, but the main one that I'd seen was actually a lot of people concerned about the environmental impact of like adding sort of Ethereum into the ecosystem for Discord. The second part that I did somewhat see, right, was just also a little bit of like worry about like it becoming just like another NFT marketplace or something like that, as opposed to like the value that it currently has. I still don't understand how Discord makes money. I just don't get it. Like it's a massively valued company, but like Nitro is definitely not the way that they make money.
Yeah.
Or certainly couldn't be enough to justify the valuation. So I don't know, but I am interested to sort of see. But I think like it was interesting just to see the blowback, that did come about because of this. Obviously, there's some interesting opportunity here in sort of onboarding like an entire generation of users, right? Potentially, right, into this ecosystem. So I think it could be interesting when they do decide to do this, and hopefully there will be, they could also push for some other things. maybe a different platform or a different blockchain or a side chain or something else that would actually not have like crazy environmental impacts, right? And so they could actually maybe help bring an alternative to sort of like maybe Ethereum or the current Ethereum, right? Like into the fold in a good way.
Yeah, I think, look, everyone that is on a Discord, I mean, everyone that's NFT interested or a fan of NFTs, they're the best way to what they've told me or what they've said on Twitter is like the best way to go is to discover NFTs or get early access to them is to join someone's Discord server, right? And so, but you join that server, then you have to go to like an OpenSea because obviously that's the big NFT marketplace. Although then you get like Coinbase is potentially working on one, Twitter is potentially working on one, and so on and so forth. There's all these different NFT marketplaces in the works. So I mean, and Discord and getting into NFTs isn't far fetched. I mean, it streamlines everything, cuts through the middleman. It could certainly help generate revenue for Discord as you're talking to alleviate that concern, Greg, that you have, right, in terms of how do you make money. But obviously, that environmental concern is like here's the interesting. If you're getting all upset about Discord getting into NFTs because of environmental concerns, are you expressing that same issue on OpenSea and everything else, everywhere else that that Ethereum and crypto is being used? Or are you buying them, buying Ethereum? Like, and I'm not talking to you specifically. I'm just talking about people.
No. But I think the point is that the vast majority of Discord users are not NFT people, and so
yeah they're gamers.
It is interesting, I would say, though, just that the reputation sort of precedes it already in that community, right? Like, so, and I think we do need to fix this problem, right? With the blockchain in general. So, yeah. So for now, they claim they're not doing it. They're pausing it. I call bullshit. I'm sure they're going to do this. I think they're just trying to figure out how best to do it.
Yeah, I like this line here from a Discord salesperson. For now, we're focused on protecting users from spam, scams, and fraud. So basically, anything scams and fraud related to NFT, great. That's a great idea.
That's like 50% of the game.
But look, I wouldn't rule NFTs or Ethereum integration in Discord out by any means. It'll happen. It just won't happen.
It's gonna happen
right now.
It's gonna happen.
It won't happen right now. Yeah. All right. I put this in here, this article in here, just because I think it's kind of fascinating to see the evolution of this particular NFT. So earlier this week, Universal Music Group, one of the largest music companies, record companies in the world, announced that they're going to create a band. The members of this band are not just some reality TV show or anything like that, making it the band where Diddy comes out on stage and creates the new Danity Kane or whatever. But this band called Kingship is going to be made up of 4 virtual apes. These apes are from.
Let's be clear. It is not. I didn't understand this, but it felt like it was a new band that they're making the music.
Yep.
For these NFTs, basically. So this is like the first boy band, in the NFT world.
Yep. So they're so it's almost like you remember the Gorillas, the band Gorillas? Yeah. So when they came on,
apes. Apes are not gorillas, Ken.
No. No, really? That's what you're coming after me for? Why don't you let me finish the conversation where you just pounce on people? You're just savage. But no, the point is that I remember there's this concert where the Gorillas would come out and appeared as holograms, right? And so they're the holographic, projections of the animals, and they would come on stage and when they would perform. So that's there's some similarities to that here, but you're right. I mean, there are 4 apes. 4 apes from the Bored Ape Yacht Club, that NFT, and they're going to turn them into. I find it fascinating just because Bored Ape Yacht Club has been in the news for so long, and they're really helping to usher things into the mainstream, usher NFTs into the mainstream, right? They're already represented by, I think, by CAA, one of the biggest and most well-known talent agencies, mainstream talent agencies in Hollywood. And so like and it's just like, how is this like this? It's just fascinating to see where this is going. So I just wanted to point that out there. It's like, you're going to see the new boy band being an NFT. And
Yep.
I don't know. It's like, it's like they're not actually singing, but you look at what the potential of what that NFT, owning that NFT band could unlock, right?
Yeah.
As we talked about previously, they can unlock memberships.
Well, there are already
rewards.
like basically fake or AI generated creators that have huge followings, right? Yeah. So I don't know. It's interesting. But I don't see anything wrong with it.
No,
Like
it's just not wrong. It's just
music,
interesting.
No, for sure. Like it's interesting because it's almost like an egoless version though of being a musician, right? Because it's like, no, I'm not going to get credit for actually making those songs, right? I'm not going to be a performer. And by the way, maybe that's not a bad thing. Like maybe you're like, I don't want to dance. I don't want to have to like go do these other things that come with like potentially being a successful musician or artist, right? And so maybe like this is good, right? Like that. I was just actually thinking about the other day. I was watching a video. I'm like, so like, if you want to make music but be successful, you have to also like basically be a dancer, kind of, right? Like, or at least for many genres of music, right? And I was like, shit, that kind of sucks because like, like what if you're not a good dancer or you don't want to be a dancer, right?
Well, you can. Elton John, Yo-Yo Ma.
No. But what I said, well, I guess my point was just in certain genres, right? Yeah. I don't think you can get away with it, right? Like being the artist, right? Like you can like, there's tons of people in the music industry that obviously work behind the scenes that create music, write lyrics, etc., like help produce things. But to be the artist yourself, right? Quote unquote. Oftentimes, right? If you're like in hip hop and R&B and like pop music and a number of formats, you kind of have to be, there's also a performance component often coupled with it, right?
Yeah.
Like versus DJing where you're not necessarily like dancing, right? Or if you're like a jazz music or someone who plays like on stage, you may not have to perform in the same way that other types, genres of music do sort of have it kind of commingled. Yeah.
All right. Let's jump over to YouTube. Some interesting YouTube news. I think in an effort to curb harassment from so-called dislike mobs, YouTube is going to follow the same path that Instagram is doing. And that is to hide the dislike counts. So everyone that's disliking our video on YouTube, all that will soon go away. We won't be able to see that publicly, although you will be able to see it privately. So look, I think this is a good move. Creators are finding themselves like, toxic. There's a lot of toxic content on YouTube. The creators are finding themselves attacked by anonymous users who are like, you know what, we're going to downvote your video in an attempt because one, for whatever reason, they don't like what you're saying. You're attacking somebody that they stand, that they're a fan of, whatever reason, right? And it's hurting the algorithm. It's hurting the creators in a multitude of ways. And so this is an effort. I don't know if it's a good effort. It's an effort to curb that.
I don't think dislikes on YouTube are in the same vein as dislikes on Instagram personally. I just feel like your identity feels so much more commingled in the Instagram realm, right? Like versus in the YouTube realm. Not that like people don't like self-align, but I feel like the dislikes, like, as we've seen with their leaks and the research, like people like literally feel they personalize how people react to themselves on Facebook, on like Instagram posts, right?
Yeah.
I think that does happen on YouTube for sure. But it just feel personally, just as a user, I haven't seen like the same kind of reaction like from like YouTubers personally, like just in the content they put out. Most people are like, fine, you can dislike it if you want because it still helps the algorithm. Like that's what I actually hear YouTubers say, right? Because either way, it's an interaction, and so like the algorithm was taking advantage of it.
Yeah.
So I don't know. What'd you highlight here, by the way?
Yeah. So this one thing I wanted to call out from here is in YouTube's testing, it said it discovered that many smaller channels are disproportionately hit by dislike mobs. The attacks can hurt creators because a high number of dislikes can affect the way YouTube doles out video recommendations. Previously, creators only had the option of turning off both like and dislike counts, which stopped them from showing off the numbers for videos with lots of likes. So, I mean, this could be like if you are a highly influential YouTuber and you're like, hey, this small creator with a small channel has basically pissed all over my channel or or is upset about what I said. I as the influential YouTuber can send my followers or suggest to my followers, or my followers could infer upon themselves, hey, we don't like that, and then they can just launch a dislike mob and really negatively impact that smaller creator, which is a bad thing. Like it's not helping people. And
Arnold actually left a comment here, and I do have to go in 1 minute. So
yeah.
But Arnold said, if I'm watching a YouTube video on fixing something, for instance, the dislikes count helps me know if the content is accurate. I actually think this is again to that surface area thing. Disliking a photo, I don't know what the hell that means, right? Like, but disliking a video that like tries to dive into something, I think ultimately does prove to have like a ton of value. So unfortunately, we have like 5 articles we're not going to get to today.
Yeah. But just fun thing, Patreon's launching going to do a YouTube spin, and Jack Conti's going to launch a podcast called The Creator Economy. So
yeah, jerk. But join us next week, by the way. We did post up the articles already, so you can go read a little bit more of our thoughts on it. We apologize. Be more mindful of time next time. Paul Backus will be joining us next week. And then we have Jen from the Means of Creation Discord, Backseat VC, not till December 8th, by the way. So we have a couple weeks off, like with some vacations and whatnot. But Ken will still be doing his show. He will be doing the news, I believe, right? Over that time.
I guess we're volunteering me for random stuff, I guess. I don't know.
Somebody's got to do it. So thank you everybody for being here. We, as always too much news to get through in a week, but we do appreciate you and your time. And Ken, I will see you soon. I'm sure. Bye, everybody.